Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. This is our 58th episode. Nothing?
Woo! Whoa, sorry.
I'm woos for 58?
I'm zoned out.
It almost felt like you were going to make up a title right there.
Yeah, no. This is our 58th episode. Today we'll be talking about 2 episodes, season 1 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, The Last Outpost, and Where No One Has Gone Before, inclusive. I, of course, am Jake, and I'm joined by
Chris.
Ames.
And Caitlin.
Cool. So, Last Outpost, and Where No One Has Gone Before. So yeah, let's just start by doing a quick once through of the Last Outpost. We pick up, we're chasing after a Ferengi ship, these mysterious Ferengi, these fearsome Yankee trader.
Yeah, alluded to in the premiere.
Yeah, mentioned that they're gonna feed the dude to them, but turns out they're just weird frog people. We catch up to them at some planet, and then they immediately attack, and then the Enterprise becomes unresponsive, and they think it's the Ferengi, and the Ferengi call up, and they think it's the Enterprise, so they mutually surrender to each other, not realizing that it's actually the planet itself, which is the home to the great empire. Tikhon Empire, which Picard, who's not been established as an archaeology or history buff yet in the show, had never heard of.
Yeah.
But apparently they were a giant empire. Cool holographic table display to explain them. Data gets his fingers stuck in a trap, and we go down to the planet. We meet the Ferengi. They're fucking horrible, like the dumbest. Like they're set up through the episode as being like these badasses. We get down there, and they're just fucking stupid.
They're
like little frogmen that
they like to like crouch.
Yeah,
they do weird things with their arms.
Weird interpretive dance.
Yeah, they're basically clowns in a circus.
Yeah, so they're not badass at all. They have these stupid.
Whips.
Well, I don't know. One of them became erect at some point, which I thought was fun. But yeah, they have these whips that shoot like electricity at you, and then we meet the guardian of the Empire, who shows up, who's like a computer or something, or he lives on the planet.
Eiffel 65?
Portal 63.
There it is.
He lives there, and it's like, and he's like, all right, well, which one of you is the bad ones? And we have sort of a Metron incident or a Errand of Mercy incident, whatever. Where
a little of both.
A little of both, where Riker has to prove that humanity is worthy of not being destroyed. And then he does, and all is well, and we leave. First appearance of, what's his
Armin
name?
Shimmerman.
Armin Shimmerman, who goes on to play Quark.
A much better character.
Once the Ferengi become better, yeah. We should clarify that we're not saying the Ferengi are bad. We're saying that the Ferengi as presented in this episode are garbage.
Yeah, this first outing's terrible. Thank goodness they changed them.
They were like the Three Stooges. That's what they need, is like a Three Stooges soundboard.
Although, the one thing that's stuck around, female!
And human.
Yes, that will stick around.
So yeah, they do keep some of the stuff. The fact that they're profit-driven is a thing that lasts.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are some similarities to later Ferengi, but definitely they get their legs in DS9.
And better tailors.
And they lose their head tattoo. Okay, so that was that one. This one, next one is Where No One Has Gone Before. So while it borrows most of its name from an original series episode, the second pilot, where Gary Mitchell gets ESP'd, this is a very different episode, although it does cover some similar ground. In this case, we're going Where No One Has Gone Before.
Outside the galaxy.
Outside many galaxies.
Yeah.
True.
So this is our first of 2. There might be more. I don't know. First appearance of the Traveler. We will see him again. So it turns out the Enterprise has been approved for some sort of warp drive upgrades performed by some dickbag, Mr. Kosinski, who's a real piece of work. He's just a dick. He's arrogant. And when our famed chief engineer Argyle,
everyone's favorite TNG character.
Yeah, everyone.
It's a pretty Scottish name.
It is.
All engineers are Scots, we've established.
So Chief Engineer Argyle is a little skeptical along with the rest of the crew, and when they ask Kosinski to explain it, he's just like, fuck you, I know what I'm doing. The other starships didn't have a problem with it, so let's just go. So they agree to do it anyway, and he brings with him his assistant from Tau Alpha C, who is unnamed, or his name cannot be pronounced by human tongue.
What kind of tongue does he have?
I don't know.
Wouldn't you pick a name that human beings could fucking pronounce if you were going to be around human beings all the time?
Or at least have a nickname.
Like, you can't say my name, but I like to be called Todd.
Yeah, exactly.
NBD, right? Like,
clean up your shit, Todd.
Well, they said the same thing to Prince, and he was having none of it. But anyway, so assistant formerly known as the Traveler
Nice.
is there, and they start dicking around with the warp drive, and as they're playing with it, the Traveler starts phasing in and out of reality, and Wesley's there, and he's like, oh boy. And then they end up 2 galaxies away somehow. They've breached the Warp 10 barrier, and of course, Kosinski's very proud of himself because he still thinks that he did it.
Yeah.
And then they try to do it again, and this time they've ended up where no one has gone before, in some sort of weird part of space, or is it? They end up in some weird place where thoughts become reality, much like the Shore Leave planet.
Much like the Shore Leave planet.
Except it's not a machine doing it. It's apparently just the place they are is like magic. And they talk to the Traveler. Traveler's like, yeah, I really shouldn't have brought you out here. It was an accident and you weren't ready for this because, your minds aren't disciplined enough not to make fire or dead mama.
Or delightful string quartets.
Yeah. Or kitties. Or rape gang. Or whatever, yeah. Well, that would escalated quickly. Went from like, ooh, nice kitty to rape gang.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what's on Yar's mind, I imagine.
I think so.
Like, no matter what, even when she's thinking of kitties, it somehow goes to the dark, weird place.
Well, because your traumatic, shitty childhood's gonna keep...
We'll get to that.
Well, certainly we've mentioned them every episode so far, because they just keep coming up.
It's very unfortunate. Sorry, go on, Jay.
So, anyway, Traveler is like, all right, I'll take you back. I think I can do it. I got the power. But listen, just so you know, Wesley is a fucking Mozart-like...
Idiot savant.
And
Mozart was just a regular savant. I don't think he was an idiot.
So you should really... take care of Picard, and Picard's like, fine, whatever, I killed his dad, so I feel good.
And I fucked his mom.
I killed his dad, fucked his mom, and I really feel bad. So they...
also, have you seen his face?
So the Traveler does his thing, they return back to our galaxy, but he, in the process, phases out of our reality, never to be seen of again until the next time he guest stars in an episode. And Picard, violating every tenet of Starfleet protocol and pissing off anyone that spent years at the Academy, appoints Wesley an acting ensign on the bridge.
Yeah, we'll get to that too.
So that Wesley can now be issued a uniform and not have to wear those horrible sweaters. But, spoiler alert, he still does.
So, my God.
So that's those are those episodes. They're garbage. No, they're actually where no one. I actually really like Where No One Is Known For. I think that's a good one.
But let's talk about
fucking
Last
Outpost. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Just thinking about it.
Okay, boring as fuck.
Yep.
Super boring. Like nothing happens in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I wrote so far nothing. Next to nothing has happened, and we were literally halfway through the episode.
It was kind of like the Baylock episode in that way.
A little bit, yeah.
Kind of nothing happens for a long time.
Yeah, until the very, very end where you see Baylock, and in this one it's the very, very end where we see Portal 63, and we're like, what the hell is happening now?
Who was, for some reason, a man in bad old age makeup.
A little bit of
really bad makeup.
Like
a little bit of Portal 63.
There's no reason I can see that they couldn't have just hired an actual old man.
I want, like, how old was the guy playing him at the time? I don't think he was a
job.
young guy.
Yeah, but the makeup job
the makeup job was awful.
Like, if he didn't look old enough for their liking, just get an older guy.
Well, why does the character have to look old if he's this weird guardian of the Takan Empire?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, but
we're jumping ahead, as we often do.
We are jumping ahead, but like...
We want to go back to the half an hour of nothing happening?
Well, I just want to announce that I have finally done it. I've slept through my first TNG episode, everybody.
I'm sorry you missed the Ferengi,
Congratulations.
Caitlin.
I made it 4 whole episodes in.
Yeah,
It's
like,
pretty
I
good
don't
for
know.
me.
It's just like the way this episode was shot, a lot of like, it almost, if I didn't know better, I would say this was the first episode produced. Because it just feels so sloppy. Like,
yeah, there's that in the opening at one point. I think we all noticed it, but I think Jake, you're the one that actually commented on it, where it was like they just cut to the back of the bridge and show the bridge. No one's saying or doing anything for like a solid 3 to 5 seconds, which in television terms is a fucking eternity.
Oh,
Yeah.
it wasn't that long. It was probably
a couple seconds.
Yeah, but it wasn't like 3 to 5.
Yeah.
It might have been 3.
there was but there was also like other sloppy shit. Like there was one when Picard was talking to Damon fuckhead on the view screen. There was whenever they did the reverse shot of showing Picard from the front, from Damon's perspective, there was a visible piece of lighting equipment in the frame at the top of the frame. It looked like a barn door from a light.
That's fine.
Was visible in the frame, and it wasn't just like one shot. Well, I mean, it was probably one shot, but like
They cut it up into...
yeah, it was several cuts back to the shot of Picard and the bridge crew with a fucking light in this frame. It's like how that's like fucking
amateur hour.
I don't think we see much of that even on the original series when they didn't give a shit in those days. There was also weird shit like the weird hologram table in the conference room.
Yeah.
That we never, as far as I know, we never see it again.
No, we don't see holograms.
No, I'm
again
sure it
like
was
that?
really expensive to animate.
Yeah.
And they probably said, well, we're a little much there. We'll just put everything on the TV from now on. Which is sort of like the opposite of how they use holograms in DS9, which I think I mentioned when we talked about Discovery, was how they did an episode where instead of the view screen, they used a hologram projector on the bridge, which was just a cheap way of filming it without having to...
Well, see, they could have just redone what they did here and just have all the other bridges be bathed in so much light.
Oh my god, I was gonna say...
All you could see was the captain.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just close-up on Ferengi Captain's face.
Extreme close-up, like...
Damon was his name? Damon.
Well, Damon's a
It's
title, I
rank,
think.
yeah.
Ah,
It's
Damon
like,
Tar.
I think it's
okay.
the equivalent of captain.
Yeah.
You can see his teeth.
Yeah, his top row of Ferengi monster teeth and his bottom row of human teeth.
Don't they
Yeah.
eventually just have pointy teeth above and below, and they also don't stick out so much?
Yeah, they have rough teeth later as well, but yeah.
But not quite so... They tend to stay in their mouths, from what I recall.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the makeup job on the Ferengi is definitely not in its final form. And again, I feel like they weren't expecting these episodes to be presented in HD at that time. So like some of the shittiness of the makeup comes through probably more than it would have when originally broadcast, I would say.
Yeah.
The Ferengi are very confusing to me because I read that they were meant to be the new antagonists of the series, a la the Klingons or Romulans in TOS. And yet when we first meet them, they're just fucking jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was an interview I read with Will Wheaton years ago. I think it was Will Wheaton that it was talking about it. Was about how, the producers really wanted the Ferengi to be like the Klingons.
Like badasses.
That's
In this
why,
case, they're just bad and
yeah,
asses.
I mean, so they sort of the way they introduce them here is sort of a mix in a lot of ways of Balance of Terror and Errand of Mercy, which is where they introduce the Romulans and Klingons respectively. We have the Errand of Mercy thing, which is like on the planet and, a superior race is judging you sort of deal. And then you also have the fact that no one's ever seen a Ferengi, evidently. Sort of like the Romulans. So it's supposed to be this big reveal that, oh my god, they're so horrifying. But that even as they were filming the episode, it was very clear that these were not the Klingons.
No.
They were not badass. Just because of the design of them, really, You can't look at that alien design and say that's a scary monster.
See, I don't even know. I feel like, looking at Tar in his close-ups on the screen, he could easily be a scary monster. Because we he's got presence, he's demanding on the, Picard. But then when we see them and they start acting weird on the planet, they start, like, jumping around like fucking toads, and they can't physically close their mouths, so they're always kind of agog at everything.
Yeah.
I think the acting, was weirder than the appearance.
It's not even just the jumping around. Well, I don't know. I think it's a combination because I think I guess you could use the same. I don't know. When I think of like a really scary badass alien, we haven't seen them yet, so they won't mean anything to you. I think like the Nausicaans, which we'll meet eventually, are pretty fucking badass and scary. Like the Jem'Hadar are scary looking, but the Ferengi, I think they just look like frog people, and that's not scary to me.
Well, until we see them, we also don't know that they're like 4.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And that's being polite.
And they tried to sort of imply that their appearance belied their abilities. Where, Data was like, be careful, sir, they're much stronger than they look. But I don't feel like that ever comes up ever again. I don't think of Ferengi as, like, powerful people.
Also, like, their, like, motto is, like, caveat emptor? Like, what is that? Like, really? That's really, not like literally, right? But
that's
like,
that's
what they live by. And it's just like, buyer beware is the code you live by. It doesn't really inspire fear. Yeah. Unless you're buying the Chinese finger traps that Data keeps
apparently he ordered
with.
those from Oriental Trading Company. You ever get those magazines?
Yes, actually.
I've ordered stuff from them.
It's all garbage.
Yeah. That's why it's so cheap.
Good to keep stupid kids entertained, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah,
the finger trap thing. The finger trap thing, not only is it weirdly placed in the episode of, like, why is there this weird moment where in the middle of a conversation Data is playing with a finger trap, but also, like, he's in the middle of trying to, like, give us valuable information.
Yeah. Well, so Chris, I think when we were watching it, you said, like, oh, this is going to become important later.
And it did not.
It did not.
It did not.
But here's the thing. There's a later episode that we'll get to, where it's literally the Enterprise gets trapped in the space equivalent of a Chinese finger trap. And, like, they have to get out of it. And, the way, it's the same thing where they get out of it by basically shutting down the whole ship and, like, floating out underpowered. Not underpowered, just on their momentum.
I don't know.
I thought maybe that would have been a thing they would do. And then I'd be like, oh, well,
especially the fact that the whole thing, like, trying to pull apart wasn't working. But Ames, you had a thought.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the logic of a finger trap is you can't get out of a finger trap by fighting against it. You have to come together and unite as a whole for it to, bunch up and you can get your fingers out. I forget where there was... This was in an episode of something before where someone got stuck in one and realized, oh, you have to, like, bring your fingers closer together and, it's like teamwork. It's like working as a team.
Except they're both your fingers.
Hmm?
Except they're both your
unless you're stuck with somebody else. If you have your finger on one side and someone else's finger on the other side.
And that, maybe that was supposed to be the metaphor, except the Ferengi didn't actually really want to work with them. And
They liked whipping them, though.
Yeah, they're silly.
Also, I've got to take...
Whips.
They did look like noodles, right?
Yeah.
I've got to take one last bit of umbrage with the finger trap thing.
Yes.
Data's a crazy strong android. There is no way he couldn't have just pulled hard enough to rip that fucker in half.
Yeah, he probably didn't want to. He probably didn't want to.
Also, he's a fucking super intelligent android. He couldn't figure out how the goddamn thing worked.
And then later, everyone's on the bridge fucking with him like, I can't get my feet. You were there! Riker, Geordi, you were there. Riker, you got Data out of it. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't...
Also, why do children have access to every part of this ship? The reason the finger trap was in there, because two kids were just fucking around in the conference room, which is right behind the bridge. Do they still not lock doors on the Enterprise?
Is there even a way to get to the conference room without going through the bridge? There must
Apparently.
be. There must be.
I
pull out the blueprints again, but
well, it's good to know that parents in the future will be just as inept at keeping their children well behaved as they are in the present.
I thought it was bad enough they let Wesley everywhere, but now apparently they let any kid anywhere.
Yeah, mercifully, this was a Wesley-free episode. Like that's
a good point.
There's their silver lining.
Yeah,
he did not save the day.
Thank Christ.
Yeah, in fact, the only person on the bridge who seemed unconcerned with the Ferengi was Worf.
Yeah.
Or like he was surprised when he thought that the Ferengi had defeated them.
Yeah.
So I wonder if like the Klingons maybe had previous interactions and knew how fucking ridiculous the Ferengi were.
Maybe.
And Worf was just standing back there laughing like, are they fucking serious? They're actually scared of these guys?
This is
Worf wanted to fight so fucking bad because later when they meet Portal 63 or whoever the fuck, and they're talking about, oh, we have to do judgment or whatever, and Worf was like, I want to fight! Can I be the one that fights? And like, no, that's not a thing we're doing, Worf. Sit down.
Yeah, old Worf.
I love that apparently the whole fucking test was just, will you flinch when I fling my weird halberdy thing near your head?
Yeah, that didn't make any
poo at you?
sense.
That was stupid.
That's not a test. Was he also reading their minds?
I think a little.
Then why is there a test at all?
Well, they also scanned the computer.
Yeah, like,
on the ship.
knows a lot about them already. It's just, I don't know.
Dumb show. It was a dumb one.
That's one was
A lot of it didn't make sense.
Oh, well, I'm not sorry I missed it.
Yeah, no, you didn't miss much. But yeah, no, those pool noodles, man, like you were saying, they're like one of them, there's this, so one of the promotional items for Saints Row 3 or 4 was literally a dildo bat. Literally, it's a dildo that's like 3 to 4 feet long, with a handle, big purple balls.
What is this from?
One of the Saints Row games.
What's a Saints Row game?
It was, the original one,
It's a
Saints
video
Row,
game.
was sort of a GTA knockoff. But
So
they
it's like an open world sandbox game.
Yeah, crime simulator. But after the first one, they realized, all right, we can't go toe-to-toe with GTA on their own terms, so we're going to get increasingly parodic.
And they're hilarious. I haven't played it. I've watched him play.
But I've seen, because there's this online commentator, Jim Sterling, who has
doesn't
one.
Jim have one? I was just going to ask you
And
that.
he throws it around in videos sometimes. But that's all I could think of, was that giant Saints Row dildo bat.
Yeah.
It's...
And really, it's like the dancing.
yeah.
Like, that's
It looks
that's
like-
the big
yeah.
problem here, is the dancing that the Ferengi do.
With their arms above
It's
their
like-
head so much. Weird gestures with their hands.
It's like Derek Zoolander or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, about as
blue
dignified
steel.
and about as short.
Yeah. Yeah, not scary at all, Ferengi.
Not threatening. Not anything.
If you were a kid, they might be kind of scary. At least until you see them in person. Like, once we met, like, Mo, Larry, and Curly there, it wasn't such a big deal. But, like, when you just have big Snaggletooth up on the view screen, it's a little creepy.
Well, his voice isn't very threatening either, though. You know, it was...
I mean, it's not like, Quark's voice or anything, where it's just, kind of nasal and non-threatening, but...
I don't know. I found them so lame. But maybe that's
They
because
are
I've
lame.
had so much exposure to the Ferengi already that I can't see them
No,
as anything
I
but what they are.
I think even divorced from what they become, these are asinine.
Yeah.
I liked that their reaction to the people that they were seeing were, like, kind of meant to mirror the audience's reaction to the Ferengi. Like how, when Picard's talking with the captain, he's like, oh, humans are even more, like, horrifying than we thought, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, they're all, like, freaked out by the fact that, didn't they take issue with the fact that, like, Tasha Yar was there?
Yes,
working
and wearing
with them?
clothes.
And wearing clothes, yeah.
Yeah.
They
And
force
arm.
her to wear clothes.
Well, because on Ferenginar, in Ferengi
I'm sorry,
culture,
it's called what? Ferenginar?
that's
their
their homeworld.
Ferenginar?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
But in Ferengi culture, women are forbidden to wear clothes.
That seems right.
There's a lot of depth that gets added to the Ferengi during DS9, and a lot of it's really good. It's good stuff. Like the Ferengi episodes are some of my favorites on DS9. We find out that it's a very misogynistic sort of society.
And Wallace Shawn is their leader.
Yeah, well, and this goes back to
Who's from Princess Bride, right?
Inconceivable.
Yeah.
Inconceivable, yeah.
yeah, who's like fucking hilarious.
Yeah, who's basically the same character as he was in Princess Bride, but with giant ears.
Yeah, and there's some apocryphal beta canon that suggests that the reason why the Ferengi are regarded as threatening or dangerous is because the character Wallace Shawn plays, Zek, who's the leader of the Ferengi, in order to make them seem more imposing in business negotiations, like orchestrated this whole thing to, never make visual contact with other species, to have this air of
Mystery and shit.
mystery and spread rumors about their savagery.
It
And
worked for the Romulans.
yeah, exactly. So they basically pull a Romulans, but of course they're like really goofy.
Yeah, and their ships look like croissants.
Yes,
Delicious.
So that's sort of some like beta canon retcon that they've done to explain why people seem to actually fear the Ferengi when clearly they are not anything to be feared.
Yeah, no, they are.
Well, maybe they would eat you if they found you dead
Maybe
already.
they mostly eat bugs. They're mostly fond of bugs.
Ew.
beetles. Because they're like frog
Timon and
people.
Pumbaa over here.
No, I adore Quark. Quark is an amazing character.
Yeah.
His character in this episode, Letek, no. Just no. Just no.
Latex?
Letek.
Some people have problems with the Ferengi because, at least in their Deep Space Nine persona, they have like a weird. There's some weird stereotypes.
Yeah, I've heard that they're a little bit anti-Semitic or something.
Well, they're not. It's just
well, not them, but
it's people say, oh, well, you have these people who are mostly all played by Jewish actors. They're most of the Ferengi are Jewish actors, and they're money grubbing misogynists, and people are like, it's a little problematic.
I mean,
I've obviously heard the stereotype about Jewish people and money, right? Like, everyone has heard this. I've never heard of them being misogynistic. Oh, I know that there's, like, either separate sides of the temple or...
Yeah, it's only
separate
specific
rooms and certain shit like that, but that's not that unusual. Other religions have that.
No, I mean, it's mostly a stereotype.
Yeah.
It's not really... I mean, I know that there was... they even make fun of this on Curb Your Enthusiasm, where when Larry is going to have sex with a Hasidic woman,
right? And the sheet with the hole. Yeah, I remember that episode.
So it's like so it's like stuff like that, which is obviously mostly rumor. Even on the Curb Your Enthusiasm, it turns out to be fake.
Yeah, she's like, a sheet? The fuck, you believe that, you idiot? She's wonderful.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously what they just wanted to do, based on the dialogue, if not the presentation, was just make the bad guys be ultra-capitalists. Which, that's fair. Ultra-capitalism is bad. Ultra-capitalists, regardless of religion, are money-grubbing. And, let's be honest, most corporations are still incredibly misogynistic. It might be an issue of, the viewers just being like, well, they must mean the Jews. It's like, no, we just mean capitalists. And again, the fact that they just happened to keep hiring Jewish actors didn't help. It's kind of like last week. If they hadn't cast just all black people, maybe it wouldn't have felt like...
Yeah.
This
and that's
whole
why
thing.
I think it was a...
coincidence.
I think it was an inconvenient sort of... Just like last week, it was not intentionally racist.
It just,
Except, well, maybe the director.
Yeah, I was going to say, the director might have intended it.
May have been racist.
No one aside from the director meant to be racist.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody involved in Deep Space Nine meant to make any...
and certainly, just off the top of my head, I don't think Clint Howard is Jewish, and we'll see him as a Ferengi one day.
That's true.
I just like to think of the fact that Clint Howard was a Ferengi once. It amuses me to no end. Tallest Ferengi ever.
Oh,
he was... God, even as a kid, he was
How
just
tall is Armin Shimmerman?
So unfortunate.
He's not that tall.
He looked pretty short. I'll look it up.
I mean, they're all hunched over.
Yeah, there was a lot of hunching
and
crouching, and
it was almost like ape-like too. Like there's something simian about it.
They were like reaching their arms out, like they should have been longer than their like the proportions should allow.
Yeah. There were some choices made. The weird fur bandoliers for some reason, and big fur Ugg boots.
I wasn't looking at that.
They did have...
That was strange.
Fur bandoliers.
Yeah, there were all sorts of bizarre choices made with the Ferengi in this episode. I mean, it still made more sense than anything involving the so-called test from Eiffel 65 there, though.
Oh, yeah, that was a weird... Yeah.
It was just like they didn't know how to end it, so they just went with that.
Yeah. It didn't seem to resolve in any logical way.
Really, I think the point of this episode was to introduce the Ferengi and set them up as the recurring villains of... Which
they give up on in an episode.
Yeah, there's one more Ferengi-centric episode, I think, where the Ferengi are the main antagonists. Mm-hmm. And then it just sort of...
And then they go, let's try the Cardassians.
No, let's try the Borg.
Yeah,
that's a better idea.
They do the Borg. I mean, there's a few false starts this season. They start with the Ferengi. That doesn't work out. Then there's this weird parasite thing that happens, and
that's season 2.
Speaking of parasites, did you know that Armin Shimmerman plays Andrew Ryan in BioShock 2?
Yes, I did.
I didn't know that.
I think in BioShock 1 as well.
Well, probably, but I'm only seeing BioShock 2. He's 5'6", Ames.
So that's...
I feel like Quark feels I feel like Quark feels
not
taller
for a man. 5'6" is an average height for a woman.
We've had this discussion before.
Yeah,
5'10", I think.
That seems... I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up. I think.
Yeah,
Maybe.
for some reason I feel like Quark is taller, but I don't know if he wears different shoes or what. But
Well, it could also just be like he's behind a bar, so they're really
That's
it's
true.
really
People are
easy for
sitting
them
a lot.
yeah,
Maybe Rene Auberjonois isn't as tall as we think.
The average American height for men is 177 centimeters, which is approximately 5 foot 10 inches tall.
Wow,
about to say,
look at you.
Damn, if you're talking about American men, put that in American measurements. Centimeters.
Okay, so Armin Sherman is below average height, but not like.
But above average height in my heart.
And I was wrong. For women, it's actually 5'4".
So he's right in the middle.
Do we have anything else on this one before we
Yes.
schlep on over?
I was going to talk about what's happening up on the ship while they were down talking to the Ferengi.
Tell us, Ames.
When the ship, because they're on the ship, the power's gone out or
yeah.
what have you, and it's like the temperature's dropping. I don't know what people are actually getting more affected by. I don't know if the oxygen was being depleted or what.
I don't think the show knew.
Well, if there's no power, then the oxygen.
Yeah,
the
they never-
ventilation system
It didn't
wouldn't
seem
work.
like a big concern. Like they were concerned, like, oh, everyone's cold except Wesley, who has the cache of sweaters.
He's just in his quarters wearing all of them at once, fucking like...
I'm all right, Mom.
Just like fucking Christmas Story, can't put his arms down.
And there was that really dark moment.
That
where
was great.
Beverly's like, "Oh, I decided not to trank Wesley," and Picard says, "Well, yes, he should." What I wrote
be
the
able
line
to
down.
face death awake.
He
or
has the
something.
right to meet death awake. Yes, it's like what? Where did that come from?
Like, I'm sorry, but how does a ship that enormous, even with that many people on it, start to deplete its oxygen that quickly? How bad is its insulation that it gets that cold that fast?
I don't know why they wouldn't just move towards the center of the ship. Like,
I don't
move away
understand.
why are you standing around the windows?
Why don't they just beam a bunch of people onto the planet? Because the planet's okay.
Well, they were running out of power. That beam down they did at the landing party was like the last of theirs.
Also,
I
they
see.
fucked that up too because
That's true.
Worf was nowhere to be seen and Geordi
was
was
'cause
upside down.
That was the force field, though, not them, wasn't it? That was my impression.
Yeah,
Something
but it
like
was
that,
it was something wrong with the planet. What was it that Geordi said about my eyes have never seen anything like this? So he said something.
Oh, yeah, I now show my eyes have been showing me this whole time.
Oh yeah, my eyes have been. It's like, and I'm thinking like, dude, you're fucking blind. Like, why say that? Your eyes haven't shown you anything ever.
That's a poor choice of words on Geordi's part.
It really, it's weird. It confused me. It stood out to me as a weird thing for Geordi specifically.
I don't
to
know.
say.
I feel like that's just a thing
What is
he
he
can say.
I don't believe my visor.
Yikes.
No, I feel like, he's comfortable with it enough that he doesn't change the vernacular of how he's going to refer to,
Yeah, maybe.
his equivalent of sight.
It would have been nice, though, if there'd been some indication in the episode before that moment that he thought he was getting weird readings. Because it does come... Like, in retrospect, I think there was one moment where he kind of went like, huh, and kind of fiddled with the sides of it. But aside from that, like, not even a quick throwaway like, this is weird. Like, all of a sudden, now I get it! Now you get what? What are you talking about? There has been no... What?
Yes. That's easily missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just like in the planet, be like, oh, this crystal, it's inert. Well, obviously it's not because it's what's sucking the energy out of the ship.
And eventually decides to start sucking energy out of weapons, although it takes its sweet time.
Yeah, I forgot how stupid looking the first season phasers look as well.
Yeah, wow.
Weird bulbous things.
Yeah.
Just like the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish that. I mean, the later phaser is better, but I really don't know why they didn't just have a pistol grip.
Yeah, no,
phaser.
that's so
'Cause-
stupid. I hate all the modern
Yeah, because
Type
it does.
2s.
It looks like the shape of like the Type 1 from TA or TOS, but it's like the size of a Type 2.
But they also
Well,
have.
they also have, like,
There's
a-
also a Type 1 that they use.
Yeah, there's a little Type 1 that looks like the TOS Type 1, but their Type 2 is this weird dustbuster looking thing.
Yeah, but it's
Like
like
this-
it's the shape. It's the size of a normal phaser, but it's held like a Type 1. I guess that's what I was trying
Yeah.
to say.
It
Yeah.
just seems like that would be somewhat
It's remote
more
control.
difficult to aim.
It also just feels like just making, to the listeners, I'm making the gesture you would need to make to hold a TNG Type 2 and push the button.
It looks like you're using a remote control.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
My thumb is already getting tired.
Well,
I
because
wonder if
you don't want to be comfortable shooting somebody with a phaser.
Well, plus it's probably easier to operate with two hands, which I wonder if that means that you would have like better aim.
But anyone only ever uses it with one hand. You never see a two-handed, like...
I guess you can two-hand a gun as well. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to brace your arm because of the...
Yeah, recoil.
But that, no, it just doesn't make sense. This is an energy weapon. It doesn't have recoil.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't mean recoil. I just mean, like, it's impossible for people to keep their hands totally still.
Yeah.
And I figure it's probably...
But still, there's no reason not to have just kept it as a pistol design.
It's a little weird. Do they ever switch to a different type?
Nope.
Really?
Like, they slightly tweak this design. They make the end pointier, but...
But yeah, the same basic shape for the rest of Star Trek.
Yeah.
They do...
For the rest of Star Trek? All
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it? Not even just TNG?
Yeah, right through to the end of Voyager.
and Voyager.
What the fuck?
We only get
stuff.
pistols when we go back to Enterprise, Discovery, and the Kelvin timeline.
Are they, like, basically trying to, like, show how the future is better because there's, like, no guns and even though
Maybe.
there's still
Although
guns?
they do introduce the phaser rifle eventually,
What the
which is like a fucking rifle.
Yeah, we
A
saw that
sniper
in
phaser?
The Cage. Spock had a rifle.
Yeah, but I think that's the only time.
Yeah, that actually, I read that at the time. That's the last time we see a rifle in Star Trek.
I don't even think we see it in the menagerie, right? I think we only see it in the Cage.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So it's not. That's not even officially in Star Trek. So yeah, I think the first appearance of the phaser rifle appears.
Oh no, in Where No Man Has Gone Before, they have one.
Speaking of where no man has gone before,
Oh, do they?
where has no one gone before?
Tinkerbell's homeland is.
I liked the effects. The effects were very pretty
Yeah, that was
in where no
nice.
one has gone
Yeah.
before.
This was a generally okay one.
Yeah, I think in contrast to the like I was saying in the Ferengi one, I really felt like this could have been a pilot because of how janky it was. Like one thing I didn't mention, and I want to mention it, is there's all these weird things where when they're talking to Damon Shithole on the viewer, and like Data and Geordi are like whispering to each other, bad mouthing him, and then the guy's like, or like Data was like, Yankee traitor. And then Damon whatever his name is like
Tar.
Damon Tar is like, what does he mean, Yankee traitor? And Geordi's like, I think he heard you.
Oh no, Data's got a hot
It's just
mic.
so dumb. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, why are we putting it? What is these, a comic relief shit?
Apparently.
Chekhov trying to rekindle that old Chekhov and Sulu back and forth.
Yeah,
You just
it
can't
did
do
not
it.
work. Didn't work. But anyway, so in contrast to that, this episode actually feels like shit's together to me. You know, like the characters generally know what they're doing. We're finally getting to our final cast arrangement, what with Chief Engineer Argyle,
who we will,
come to know and love.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's right there, very prominently on the first contact poster.
Yeah, that's right. There he is.
Gets rid of the beard, which is strange. It becomes a Van Dyke after a while.
Yeah, it happens that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the first appearance of Chief Engineer Argyle, so we'll be looking forward to seeing much more of him, I'm sure. No sign of McDougal. However, she just...
I mean, it's just they volunteer. Who wants to be chief today?
Wait,
yeah, all right.
She's normally the night shift chief engineer, but Argyle was sick last because they just say they had multiple chief engineers. That's weird. That's
Riker was like, "This is one of our chief engineers."
Like what?
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, if you're gonna have a Scotsman down there shoveling dogs into the furnace,
Oh my god!
then you might as well have a couple.
Why dogs?
I don't know, there was like an old Simpsons joke where like they were on a steamship and they were shoveling dogs into a furnace and like the foreman yells like, "More dogs!" I think it was the Simpsons, or maybe I'm making it up. I don't know.
Maybe you're a psychopath. Who knows?
Well, speaking of dogs, we see Worf's dog in
the Tar.
You're like a little piggy. I love him.
Yeah, there's a pig with fur and spikes. Very TOS-ish.
The wild boar
was.
actress, her name was Emmy Lou.
Aww.
She was so cute.
Did she poop all over the stage?
I did
so.
not ask.
I'm sure she did.
But she was very cute.
There's also a kitty cat.
There's
There
a kitty
was.
cat who was a Tar's cat, Yar's cat Dorothy, I think she called it.
Maybe. On her shitty homeworld.
Oh my god, that homeworld.
Yeah.
So wait, so we get so many references to where Yar is from. Where the fuck is Yar from?
From some colony that apparently shit went bad.
Very bad, and the Federation didn't think to check in.
Yeah, I mean, she was...
More dogs. It is a Simpsons.
You really think, given the whole, Governor Kodos fiasco a century ago, Starfleet and the Federation would have started keeping a closer eye on their colonies?
Yeah.
I mean, how many colonies do they have when, at the last iteration, there was always just one starship ever in that fucking quadrant.
Then, I don't know. They need to do something, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so apparently shit went bad on Yar's homeworld. And luckily, she's not going to live too long to worry about it, so... We'll never get a lot of that backstory that we could have.
Yeah, that's weird. That's such a weird thing to like make it such a strong choice.
Yeah, they
give to her.
Really wanted to run with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, to this point of all of the characters, she probably has been given the most hints at a backstory.
Yeah,
with her upbringing, the rape gangs, and all that nonsense. We know that Picard is French. We know that Troy is an empath. We know that. She used to bang Riker, and we know that Riker used to bang Troy, and that's really all we know about him.
We know he used to bang Troy, and he's sort of our Kirk.
Yeah, he's sort of Kirky.
And we suspect he would probably look better in a beard.
Yeah. Geordi's blind.
Crusher's lost a husband.
Crusher's crushed.
Oh, I thought you meant Wesley. I was like, what?
Crusher's lost a husband and has the world's most annoying son.
Argyle...
we'll eventually find out about his passion for surfing.
Yeah, that's true.
What?
Argyle.
Loves surfing. There's a whole episode where a holodeck malfunctions.
Okay, so I thought you meant Wesley, and then...
No. So yeah, I mean, of our main cast, Yar probably has the most backstory so far.
Yeah.
Which is
and her
interesting.
backstory is just rape gangs.
That's horrifying.
Which is horrible, yeah.
Backstory.
It gives her something to be upset about,
I feel like what's sort of unfortunate is just that, in thinking on it, because, again, this is like the third time it's come up in 3 weeks now. It's like, I feel like the writers just couldn't...
Think of a better phrase than rape gang?
Not that, but that, well, that
okay.
too. But they couldn't think of a better... It was like, how can we make a woman chief of security? A lady can't be tough. Wait, what if she came from a planet full of crime and rape gangs? Yes, that's believable. That is how a woman could be so not feminine. It just feels like sexism. Like, brought to an incredible extreme. Like, they didn't think audiences would buy just a woman who was good at fighting and being a security chief. They had to give her a background that explained why, which was not necessary. Her background could have been she was trained.
Yeah.
Well, she was also trained, I'm sure.
Well, yes, but you know what I mean.
Well,
she could have just liked punching things from an early age just because.
Yeah, I mean, Tasha Yar just gets it. She's had a rough life, and it does not get any better.
No.
She's this series' Rand.
Kind of, except she was supposed to be a lead.
Yeah, she was one of the main characters.
Rand was supposed to be a lead.
Good point.
Yeah, but yeah, it's true. I mean, they're clear. Like, I feel like they've been setting it up so far that if she had not quit, that Yar, spoiler alert, that Yar would have been probably a more major character than Geordi. And
Yeah,
Worf.
when does she leave? Like,
How
soon?
much longer of her do we have?
She leaves around like the 20 or 21st or so episode of
So
the
most
season.
of the way
Oh
through
my
the first
God.
season?
Yeah, she basically made it almost all the way through season 1, and then.
Why did she quit? Do we know?
Probably thought the show was garbage.
Well, yeah, I think that's part of. I've heard that.
She was sick of saying rape gangs every week.
I've heard
Don't blame
stuff
her.
about her wanting to pursue a movie career that didn't happen.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, and like.
Yeah, she waited around long enough. She would have had movies
I'm
to be in.
sure we'll talk about this when the time comes, but there was a lot of, let's just say, off-screen activities going on that are reminiscent of the original series off-screen activities in a bad way.
Oh no.
With some of the staffers. I don't know about Jean specifically, but I know that that there was some serious problems. Like Gates McFadden had problems. That's part of the reason why
Who's that?
Crusher.
Oh.
She was actually fired, but that's part of the reason why she left, was that there was suggestions that one of the producers, Maurice Hurley, and Gates did not get along, and possibly because there was suggestions of things, and I don't know. It's a little... No one's ever actually said what happened.
Wait, so how long does Dr. Crusher last in this show?
She leaves after the first season.
But then comes back in the third.
Yeah,
Fuck.
well, because Maurice Hurley got fired, and nobody liked Pulaski, so they're like, well, we need to bring back Crusher.
Yeah. Stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
Wait, so does that mean we don't have Wesley for a season?
No, he
No.
stays for some reason.
No.
Oh, well, thank
She
God.
leaves. They
She leaves her son
they write
on
her
the ship.
character off
Because the show's really invested in Wesley. He's Mozart, as we find out this
Oh my
episode.
god, this fucking episode and how it treats Wesley as their Deus Ex Wesley.
yeah.
Christ.
Although
They
he
build
didn't,
him up
he
so
didn't
much.
save the day. At
He
least.
didn't. Why give him the
No,
fucking
no.
rank
No,
if
no,
he didn't
guys.
do anything?
He did save the day. It was him reaching out and holding the traveler's hand and looking sweetly into his eyes that gave him that last burst he needed.
Why did you just hold my hand? They can't see
It's
it.
just Traveler.
They can't see
Well,
it.
I think it was because the Traveler told Picard to encourage Wesley.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't for anything he did. It was because, I guess I got
Fucking nepotism.
Meanwhile,
Typical.
the traveler, dissipates back to his reality. He's hanging with all of his friends. I told him the little fucking twerp was like Mozart. He made it insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is amazing. I love
He's
this.
actually Q. The traveler's just an aspect of Q who was like, Jean-Luc really hates that child. I'm gonna drive him crazy by making sure he's around all the time.
Yeah, you could see when poor Picard had to realize, oh god, I have to give him a rank to be on the bridge, and I have to have him be on the bridge because the creature told me to. And oh my god, I don't want to, but I kind of have to. Riker, just give him a pip. I don't care.
Give him a pip.
Yeah.
Give me a pip. Give me a pip. Break me off, piece of
Yeah,
that
so the
pip.
Wesley becomes acting ensign. The Traveler has come!
What's that?
Gozer the Gozerian.
Yeah, from the original Ghostbusters.
From Ghostbusters.
Those are from
Use
Ghostbusters.
the Destructor!
It's not bad.
In the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I kind of love that the resolution of this episode was, as far as I could tell, the secret. Just like the power of positive thought or something.
Yeah, there definitely was some of that going
Everyone
on.
either concentrate on your current duty or focus on the well-being of the traveler.
It's a little Mud's women in that they're
Pop
beautiful
out.
all along.
Yeah.
If they only believe
Well,
they are.
I don't know. No, it's not like that. It's not like that at all, because the
What?
whole point was that the place where they arrived in space was a place where thought and form were one.
Yeah, which
It wasn't like in Mud's Women, it was like, no, they're literally just ugly women, and if you pretend they're good looking, you'll be alright. Whereas...
Put a bag on them.
Yeah, the traveler's whole deal seems to be that thought and time and movement are all the same thing. And they wound up in a part of the universe where those boundaries were broken down so that anyone could experience them. Whereas where we are, unless we're cool like him or Wesley, we can't quite differentiate.
So, really, although we're making comparisons to the first Ghostbusters, it's really more like the second Ghostbusters, when the goodwill of all New Yorkers took
Helps
down Vigo.
Yeah. Your love is lifting me higher.
I've
Higher
heard.
and higher.
I say your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before.
I have no idea. I haven't seen the second Ghostbusters.
You never
film.
seen it?
It's not very good.
Ever? Even when you're a kid?
Oh, I love the second
It's
Ghostbusters
fun-ish.
film.
It's not as good as the first
Vigo
one.
is amazing.
Janosch.
Okay, yes,
is amazing.
Janosch is great.
What am I thinking?
Janosch is the
The little Peter McNichol.
is the little
sidekick
Ferengi
with
guy.
the curly
that
hair.
Hangs around.
Oh, man, he's never played a Ferengi, has he?
No.
He would be perfect.
He's the guy. He's the guy that's like the
one-
joyfulness is over.
Yeah, the one
little
that
foreign guy.
Vigo hypnotizes into being
Where are
his-
you from? The Upper West Side?
Yeah, he's kind of doing a Chekhov now that I think of it.
Yeah.
Man, Peter McNichol's great.
Yeah, I haven't seen him much since I don't know, and I always confuse him with Joey Slotnick.
He probably still gets a lot of residuals from Ally McBeal. He's probably just doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. Sorry, that was a really weird tangent. Welcome to Peter McNichol Corner. But yeah, so thought and reality and things. I kind of wish there had been a scene where, what was it, Kosinski? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where, Kosinski is seeing his sort of thoughts turn real, and it's just a room full of people, screaming at him that he's a fraud and throwing things at him, and he just collapses in a corner and cries for a while.
Really, the whole thing is kind of meta in that the whole time Wesley's been imagining that he has a friend, and the Traveler comes and becomes his friend.
I love that, too. No, he's my friend! You two sat next to each other for 15 minutes in engineering. Chill out.
Wesley has no friends.
No, I know, it is painfully evident. I still don't feel bad for him, though.
No.
Yikes.
I did read that Eric Menyuk, the guy playing the Traveler, Menyuk, he was the runner-up for the role of Data.
Really? Okay.
I could see that.
Yeah. So one thing that was sort of annoying, speaking of thought and reality,
Was Wesley.
Was the fact that it was inconsistently applied across the episode, like, who could see what, as far as the hallucinations went. Like, everyone, or at least both Worf and Tasha, saw the Targ. Mm-hmm. But
Picard and Fire Guy saw the fire.
Right, but then meanwhile, like, Picard didn't see whatever was chasing those two people. Riker didn't...
Sulu with a sword.
Yeah, I hope so. Riker didn't see Picard's mother. Mm-hmm. Picard couldn't see that dancing ensign's, like, tutu or hear the music. It's unclear if anyone aside from string quartet guy could have seen the string quartet because no one was with him.
They spent a lot of time on him.
I
like the inclusion of all the random extra characters.
Yeah, that was...
It reminds you that the ship is bigger than the fucking senior staff.
Yeah,
that
and all these people have inner lives. That guy clearly has a bit of a music thing, and who knows, maybe he can't even play the violin, but I always kind of wished he could, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, I thought it was nice. I mean, it was very shore leave-ish, but I didn't have a problem.
But it was
with
less for laughs and gags, it felt like, and I think that's part of why it would work better for some people.
Less repetitive. Well, I mean, none of us like shore leave.
No, I know.
I mean,
I know, but
there wasn't a 38-minute long fist fight between Picard and his old rival from the Academy. That would have been great. Maman, but you're dead? Oui, but not here. By the way, how does she have a French accent if French has been dead for centuries? But never mind. And then
yeah, especially because she should have a fucking Irish accent, obviously.
If she's being
If
Finnegan?
she's Finnegan?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just like,
Johnny, my boy!
Oh, Jean-Luc Picard. It's really hard. Doesn't sound like Mario. I don't know what the fuck that was.
It's me, your mama!
you're alive. We can finally decide who's the better pugilist in the Picard family. And they go, and it turns out they've been having this ongoing fight that been going for decades till she passed
Which
away.
is interesting because the very next time we see a member of the Picard family, they have a fist fight.
Do
Stop.
they?
Yeah.
I was kidding. Nice.
No, it's actually true.
Nice.
Does it end really quickly because they both surrender, or? LOL. Sorry, France.
Wow.
I don't know anything about it.
They actually end up mud wrestling.
Well,
Let's just say,
much like
Picard family reunions are very interesting.
Much like Wesley not being able to get up and leave the bridge after being made an ensign, I fear I shall not be able to stand for a while either, with that vision in my head.
Oh my.
Boner.
Bone.
What was with Kosinski's, like, he wasn't Starfleet, clearly, but he was in a Starfleet uniform and had
didn't have a badge.
He had a special
Special pips, yeah.
Special square pip.
Yeah, it was weird.
He's probably a scientist whose work they subsume.
Like
Right,
a
but why don't
civilian engineer.
Just have him in civilian clothing.
Oh.
Weird.
Maybe civilians wear that shit all the time.
Because that's what the obviously they ran out of costumes in this episode because they did put that dude in the skirt.
There were a couple of skirt dudes, weren't there? Wasn't there at least?
There was one that they really focused on.
Yeah, but I liked that. I was excited to see that.
He looked
I want more
better
of that.
in it than, like, because I said the guy we saw in the pilot one, it didn't look good on him. It looked better on this guy, I thought.
I think
It's
they
still not a
both
good
looked
look. The skirt
lovely.
look, we actually, I think, either in this episode or it might have been the Ferengi one, we saw a woman in the skirt, the same uniform, I think. And it's not a good look with this uniform in general.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they eventually...
It doesn't have the tailoring it needs.
Yeah,
Well,
they eventually...
A spandex skirt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually everyone just wears pants, probably when they swap over to the newer, better uniforms in Season 3.
Yeah, I feel like there's times when Troy wears a skirt when she is in uniform, but she's rarely in uniform.
Yeah, Troy is in whatever they dragged out of the fucking free heap on the side of the road any given day.
Although I noticed that she's actually been fairly consistent because her outfit, I think I think it was this episode, was the same as her outfit in one of last week's episodes, except her
V was green instead of pink.
Yeah, it was green instead of pink.
She had the same hair thing going on.
Her hair was the same. That's gotta I can't imagine them braiding that every day.
That's gotta be a
wig
a
or
thing they
something.
just strap on, yeah.
Those are pretty intense braids.
They probably just have her real hair piled up underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of people with weird fucking accents, I can't get over Marina Sirtis's accent.
Yeah, where the fuck is she supposed to be from? Even?
I don't... She's supposed to be from Beta Z, but her mom eventually will show up and is just...
American, isn't she?
Yeah,
it's fucking Majel Barrett.
A Majel Barrett accent.
Yeah. Sounds suspicious.
Of which we'd heard like 2 on TAS.
I can imagine Marina Sirtis, who I'm sure considers herself an actor, spent all of this time. Whoa, what? No. Spent all of this time like, I'm going to establish that people from Beta Z have this, weird sort of nondescript continental accent. And then they hire Majel Barrett, or really Jean is like Majel Barrett's hanging around the set that day, and they're like, we need something for her to do. To play her mother, and she's like, I'll just be me! And fucking Ceritus is like, fuck you.
Goddamn,
I could have been just speaking British the whole time.
Yeah.
Sure, she considers herself an actress.
That was, wow. I mean, here's the thing. I feel like she's doing the best with the garbage they give her to say.
I agree. And with all due respect to Marina Sirtis. And, like, honestly, she's one of the more pleasant... no, they're all good people, but in terms of, like, off-screen personalities, she's, like, if you ever, like, watch videos of her talking at conventions and stuff, she's fucking hilarious. Like, she's one of the better...
it's just like...
post-Trek people.
It's kind of like, I got one job on this ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Welcome to Galaxy Class.
Yeah, but honestly, in this one, she doesn't even have one job.
The thing is, like, even when she has one job on the ship, she doesn't, like, it fails so often. I think there was that long reel in a video we shared of her being like, I can't sense anything.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what it is?
Because so many people, like, have the fucking emotion blocker.
There's this whole thing about Star Trek where the character, it's the Heroes problem. Remember the show Heroes? Mm-hmm. Which was okay.
Never watched it.
It got weird after a couple seasons.
It got weird after the first season. The second season was garbage, in my opinion. Because I think there was a writer's strike and like it just never recovered. And a lot of shows did. But at any rate, the thing about Heroes was that they made their main villain and their main hero omnipotent. They basically made it so that they could have any superpower. And I feel like, and then like one of the things that they had to do in that show to continue it, and one of the things that made the show dumb, was that they kept having to neuter their main characters and take their powers away. Like every season was about how they've lost their powers, and it just got stupid. And I feel like in Star Trek's sort of, they always have to demonstrate, like they have a character who can basically read minds in Troy. They have Worf, who's a fucking soldier, and they have Data, who's a supercomputer. And like the three of them alone should be able to do most things. Yeah. Just because they all have superpowers. But then in the way that the show establishes in the narrative that, this is a really dangerous enemy, or this is a really perilous situation, is by neutering one of those three.
If not all three at once.
Or not all three at once. So like if, they, in order to show how tough an enemy is, they beam onto the ship and kick Worf's ass immediately. Yeah. Or to show how enigmatic a character is, they have Troy not be able to read his mind. Or to show how smart somebody is, they have Data unable to best him at some sort of a thing.
3D chess.
3D chess.
I thought you were going to say, and if they're really smart, they'll show them walking on board and immediately punching Wesley in the face. Then beating Data.
Wesley's the only character on this show with superpowers who doesn't ever seem to get...
Well, that's because no one takes him seriously. That's kind of the impotent factor of Wesley, is that, like, even though he can do most things, like, Riker doesn't listen to him, like one or two times where he's trying to explain, like, the Traveler, something's happening, we should be aware of this thing. They're like, fuck, Wesley, go back in the corner.
Which, I mean...
Every time someone walks into a room Wesley's in, they're like, what is this boy doing here?
The boy.
But,
the boy.
Yeah, so that's a good point. And my point basically is that they do that on this show, and they do it all the fucking time. There's always an alien that Troy can't read. Yeah. There's always a entity or something smarter than Data. There's always an enemy that is stronger than Worf.
And there's always a character hornier than Riker.
This is true.
And it's usually Tasha Yar.
And it just gets to the point where it's like you start seeing these characters and you're like, wait, you're just useless. Yeah. So it really defeats the purpose. It's a self-defeating narrative device. But anyway, just thought I'd point that out.
I like it.
Yeah, but no, they never do give poor Marina Sirtis much to do.
No, she just sits there, I sense he's lying. Oh, you mean the guy that was obviously lying a minute ago? Well, you're a real pro.
Love to have her at a used car sale.
I sense he's holding back. Yeah, obviously. Fucking moron.
Captain, I don't think this car was just driven to church
she's
by a little old
supposed
lady
to
on
be-
Sundays.
Better ask for the Carfax.
My God, they should get her to do an ad.
No,
That would be astounding.
Like, she's supposed to be the ship's counselor, which I don't know if at this point it was meant to be this, but I know eventually it's established that the ship's counselor is like a psychotherapist.
Yeah, which is what I'd assume from the title.
Yeah, but like then she's like, well, she works on the bridge though. Like, shouldn't she
office?
be like the doctor? Like, she has an office and like patients come in.
Who is under more stress and more likely to crack under said stress than the captain?
Well, right. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I would think like, oh, well, she's like a consigliere. You're like,
Fair enough.
she's like a diplomat. Like that. Like when you see a counselor, I was thinking, oh, maybe not taking away the fact that I know that she's supposed to be a therapist. You're like, well, she could be like a diplomat that's there to like advise the captain.
Ease in,
And certainly
She does that sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it was the For Honor episode, whatever the hell it was called last week. She was sort of like, all right, here's what we know about these people.
Yeah.
Don't fuck this up.
She's an etiquette droid.
Yeah.
Human cyborg relations.
Yeah.
And last episode, Last Outpost, she was like, we should be thinking about what's happening on the planet. And everyone's like, go away, Troy. Go hang out with Wesley. No one listens to Troy and no one listens to Wesley.
Again, normally, okay.
Wow, Wesley has been just dragged down to woman status. So sorry, Wesley.
I don't know. I was going to say Troy is dragged down to Wesley status. That's worse.
Either way, it's not great. What I thought was interesting was how they were like, maybe we should like do some research while we're here.
Yeah, that was good.
They're like, yeah, but there aren't any scientists. And then Data cries.
Yeah.
Well, no, they say, be nice to send a pure science vessel. With
Data
better
isn't pure enough for you?
I mean, the best.
That night with Tasha Yar.
I don't know. I think the Enterprise is supposed to be one of the most advanced ships in the fleet, and they have like 1,000 people on board and they have science labs.
Yeah,
they have fucking cetacean navigation lab. They got fucking science on this ship.
Yeah, they do.
And like, yeah, I guess the episode needed to get over. They needed to end it. And they couldn't have add an act in the middle where they're doing research.
Yeah.
It felt more like lip service to the idea that they're an exploration ship. It's like, well, we're an exploration ship until we run into, a little trouble.
That was the thing I thought at one point where, Picard is grilling the Traveler, and he's like, what's your destination? Why do you do this? It's like, curiosity. And it's like, yeah, Picard, the reason presumably you're in Starfleet? I mean, come on, man. First and foremost, you people are explorers. Why are you so baffled by the Traveler not having a particular goal beyond seeing shit?
Oh, what's interesting. I meant to look more into this, but I have had zero time this past couple of months. This episode was based on a Star Trek TOS novel called The Wounded Sky, which did not even include a Traveler character. The ship just literally had a new warp component that was essentially something like containing a black hole in some kind of mini field or something. Some weird thing. The Traveler wasn't even in it, and yet a lot of the other stuff happened. Like the mother scene and the trying to walk out into space scene. And then the general dynamic was there, even though they changed, I think, 90% of the rest of the episode.
Sure.
I don't know how that
hole.
would work.
That's how the
Romulan
warp drive works.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Anything else on either of these two shows?
No.
Cool.
Better than last week, anyway.
Yeah, definitely an improvement. I mean, on average, because last week's episodes were both kind of poor showings.
Yeah, no, that was a really, really bad sophomore effort from Star Trek TNG.
I think Outpost was fucking no.
Yeah.
Was a lot of
that's what I'm saying. Well, this week we had Outpost, which was garbage.
Yeah.
Possibly the worst episode yet.
I would agree with that.
I mean,
I think it's worse than last week.
Yeah, well, Code of Honor is always going to depend. Like the value of Code of Honor is almost moot because so much of it's hung up in the question about racism. I think if you evaluate them on their story content and try to disregard the other issues, that Last Outpost is probably worse than Code of Honor. But that said, it's hard to be objective in judging those.
I really, really hated Naked Now too, though.
Really?
Yeah, it was
but Data was so hot.
It was so lazy.
It was super.
It was a non-effort, that episode. They fucking failed in everything they tried, but they tried.
In Outpost.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Outpost was pretty lazy too, though. It's just a rehash
It
of the
was.
same old.
Well,
like,
I mean, if they had succeeded in establishing the Ferengi, it
Yeah, but
would have
they,
been worth it.
they established the Ferengi as fucking pussies.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like they were trying a little harder with
You know,
this
they
than they were
didn't show.
making
They
now.
didn't show. You know what their mistake with the Ferengi was? Is Worf getting knocked out by the Ferengi was off screen. If they had shown Worf getting his
I
ass
don't know.
kicked
Then
off screen,
they're just starting the trope early.
Yeah.
But I would have known right away that these guys are badasses.
I just feel like they probably just snuck up behind him and zapped him before he could even see what was going on.
Yeah, probably.
They're good at sneaking.
They are.
but-
Really high stealth check.
But at any rate, regardless of how you feel, I do think that Where No One Has Gone Before is decent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
one
a
of-
solid outing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that may be the best episode so far of TNG.
I'd say that so far, yeah.
Small sample pool, though.
Small
Yeah,
small
it's
sample
very
size.
much a so far.
But yeah, I mean, I would say I'd put this neck and neck with Farpoint in terms of quality of the writing and
Yeah.
performances. And
Yeah, and we all know the best one, though, is Shades of Grey, which focuses on Argyle. That's where we find out about his surfing and all that.
Yeah.
He actually uses it to save the day, which is astounding.
Yeah, it's interesting because you think that the title is a reference to, like, moral gray areas. It's actually the fact that he was known when he's a surfer as wearing gray sunglasses.
Yeah. God, I love Argyle.
Argyle's a hero.
Oh, it's the best.
Getting a dirty look.
Do you
I
think
want to keep shooting Jake a dirty look.
Argyle is supposed to be, centuries later descendant of Argyle from Die Hard, and they're trying to say this is in the Die Hard universe?
I hope so.
what?
No. I'm going to say no.
Jake, you should probably wrap this up. I'm getting weird.
All right. Well, in any
Dirty
case,
looks all around. Sorry, Caitlin, you're caught in the crossfire.
I think
That's
we've
totally okay.
I think we've choked the life out of these 2 episodes, which means that this will be returning next week to discuss some classics, Lonely Among Us, and the only Justice. And I won't spoil it, but we do go to the sex planet, and
Oh, no.
it is hilarious. I won't ruin it because we're going to have so much fun with Justice. I just see it now. At any rate, we will be back next week with those 2 episodes. Until then, this has been A Star to Steer Her By. Join us on Facebook at Star to Steer Her By. You can find us on Twitter as well as Tumblr as SSHB Podcast. Find and like us on your favorite podcasting app or on iTunes, where you should also give us a rating and a review of your choice, whatever number of stars you think are appropriate. We're not that podcast that tells you, give us the 5-star review, because we know that we're at 3-star, 3.5 at best. So be honest.
Yes.
We can take it.
Can we?
Yes. Rate and review. And, of course, if you do like us, the very best thing you can do is tell somebody else about us. Send them the link and share the joy that is A Star to Steer Her By.
Joy, he says.
Yeah, the joy, the pain, the pleasure. We're trained in many techniques. And we will be happy to have all the listeners we can damn well get. And I think that's all. I think I've done the whole spiel. My name, of course, is Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Catch you on the flip side.
Please check your turbo lift before stepping out.